What's up, boys and squirrels? Venom here, back with a new video. So this week doing something a little different. As you can see on the screen here, we're going to create a tier list from best to worst of talents below in just perception. Tomorrow we'll do strength, and then fortitude, then agility, then intellect. Now I have to stress, this is opinionated. This is my opinion. So you may not agree on something I say below. And that's quite all right, you know? Just write down in the comments why. Maybe yours makes 100% sense, but the only way I'm going to know is if you comment. Instead of just saying something like no, or let me know why. But before we get into this, as I said, I'm going to be doing this every day for this week. And then depending on the comments, if this is something you want to see done, like say I rank the best perception skills, strength skills, agility, I could take the top 10 skills that I think and rank them. So if you want to see it done for all the trees together combined, the top 10 or all of them ranked from like 1 to, we'll say 50-ish. I feel like there's a few more than, or a few less than that, but 1 to 50-ish, I can do that as well. So next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and get into it and go from there. All right, so here let's go ahead and look at the first tree. So what we did here is we maxed them all out. We maxed them all out, and we even put the points into, say, sniper and spear hunter, because we'll talk about that in a minute. First skill is going to be Deadeye, and I want to preface before I go into this that we're basing this so that you have 10 out of 10 in perception. So before you go into this whatsoever, you've already maxed perception, so you're able to max any of these that you want. So that'll be kind of key on this for sure. But the first skill is Deadeye. So it specializes in taking keen aim with rifles and wasting your target with an expertly placed bullet. One shot, one kill. So where this kind of becomes viable and you really start to see a difference is marksman. Number 3, you're now a marksman and can hold your rifle. Rifles deal 30% more damage, aim 32% faster, reload 20% faster, and use 10% stamina while aiming down the sights. All that's nice, but the kill streak is kind of where this becomes very useful, in my opinion. So successive kills increase damage bonus. So not only are you getting your 30% more damage to rifles, but say after 3 kills, you're getting a maximum of 30%. And then once you bring it down here, you're getting 50% more damage in the rifles themselves. But then after killing 3 zombies, you're also getting 50 extra percent, so 100% of the damage. So what you would regularly do with no points into it, you're doubling that essentially, you know, to where you're popping almost any zombie. If you're hitting them in the head, you're dropping about any zombie there is, you know. Now, I will say on top of that, there is books. So like I said, we look at the books as well. So does 10% more damage. So now when using a scope, which if you have a rifle, 9 out of 10 times you're going to have a scope on it, you know. Leg shots cripple all but the strongest enemies. It can definitely be viable and useful when it comes to running around or like playing on an insane difficulty or running around trying to clear a building. Definitely useful to where if you need help, you can pop them in the leg and hopefully dismember them or cripple them. Headshots have a chance to stun and greater chance to dismember. Huge. Reload 10% faster. Always big. Zooming uses less stamina. Helpful. Craft the AP ammo and craft the high power hammer. And then you can craft the ghillie suit and then bulk craft all 7.62 ammo. Not as great as you'd want, you know. Kind of when we really look into it. But where the rifles strive and kind of succeed compared to the other guns, you know, is not really clearing buildings, because you're going to want something else with more damage, higher fire rate, something along those lines. But say your horde base is set up as such. Right here we have kind of like a little killing corridor that you've seen countless times. Again, this is just a little shit one that I did very fast. But you can set up here and you can get back if you need to, get forward. But it funnels them in. They all start to come in, and we'll see it in just a minute, and you can kind of pick them off one by one. So let's go ahead and spawn some zombies in, and just so you can see what I'm talking about. Is this reloaded? No, it is not. It's close. But this is with no like attachments whatsoever besides the scope. So let's just bring in some feral Arlenes. So we get over here, we get back in our little thing. Here they all come, see? Now they're lined up for you, and all you gotta do is just aim at the head, you know? And you're just constantly dropping, you know? This extra damage, as we see over to the left, is at 50%, but they're already breaking the top. So here's your issue. Yeah, it's strong, but they've already broken the top, so they can't get in yet. But I mean, you kill them, but as you can see, they already took out a block. So it's still not the fastest when it comes to it, you know? So with that being said, let's pull up this tier list, and I think you could make the case for A just because of the base. Like, it's going to be very viable and very easy to make that kind of base right off the bat. And it doesn't have to be done out of concrete. You know, you could do it as wood. You just want to make sure when you're making that base, you don't make, say, your hatches stronger than your actual base to where they're tearing at the walls instead of going to the hatch itself. But due to how slow it still fires, even with doing the extra damage and everything, I think we'll put it in B. All right, next skill, Demo Expert. This one specializes in explosive weapons to stun, cripple, dismember your foes. So the big thing I want to mention here, we'll look at the bottom one, is Demolitions Experts. You make things go boom in a big way. Increase damage 50%, reload speed 35%, aim 50%, and 45% chance to dismember. Stuns last longer on enemies, yada yada. So a lot of these right off the bat could be very useful, like your Molotovs. Like, those can get you, if you have a way to block zombies and kind of crowd them in, kind of like even just this, you know, you want to make sure you're standing back. But if they're bunched up in here, things like Molotovs are huge, and rockets down the line are beyond huge. Now, there's two types of explosives that we'll look at. So you have your regular explosives that are more based for zombie damage themselves with very little block damage. And then you have your high explosive rounds, which are kind of strictly, I mean, they do zombie damage, but as we'll see here, let's see. Yeah, see, it took out the vehicle. I've actually already, as you've seen, went boom once, but that just shows you like the damage these do. So the instances where these become viable are extremely, extremely niche, to where it's just like, if you're wanting to clear a building, maybe to get a flat surface or something like that very fast, like, yeah, sure, rockets or dynamite are the way to go. But for a horde base or just clearing an area, like a tier quest, like, no. Like, those aren't going to be very useful. Now, to show you, like, how viable the rockets can be, let's go ahead and pull in some more zombies, and I can just show you really fast. So again, we'll do the zombie Arlene's. We'll go in here. We'll pop back here. We want to make sure we're far enough away. Have them all come. And now they're all just going to be piled up, and all we're doing is firing. And like, as you can tell, like, I don't know how many that took out. Probably about 10. And it could have took out way more, but that's all that can fit in here. So a corridor base may not be the best thing for that. But with just 2 shots, you take out 25, well, 23, 22 zombies here, and it helps if you hit. But let's look at this. Again, the fire is going to help. To where if you need like a break or anything like that, you can throw fire to weaken them up and just drop them from there. Contact grenades, let's look at those. Very useful. You just got to make sure you can aim. As we saw, I did not earlier, and then they die, of course. But that just shows you how strong the explosives can be. Let's hit this deer. No, I don't want to do that. That's rude. Let's just toss this one. Here, I will talk kind of about why I would not rank them in S tier. When you look into, say, explosives and rocket launchers, the game now in Alpha 21, you don't find those kinds of things right off the bat. Like, you could get lucky in the old alphas and maybe pull a rocket launcher, explosive, stuff like that. The only thing you're pulling really quick in Alpha 21 is some Molotovs or some pipe bombs, you know. It's going to take mid to late game, you know, before you're getting lucky enough to find a rocket launcher and those sorts of things. Now, I will say, if you're playing a long game and trying to play for as long as you can, like, you can get to the point to where you can spend as much money as you want at the trader, so you can be looking for things like that, the rocket launcher, the components to make ammo for the rocket launcher to where you can make this viable. But starting out, like, even if you get a rocket launcher kind of quick off the bat, getting enough ammo for this thing right off the bat is going to be beyond hard. I could place it in front of explosive. I'll put it in A tier, because then again, like, it's so good. But then again, you gotta think it's got the high explosives, which have almost little to no purpose within the game right now, and then the accessibility starting out is what makes it not S. And you could even drop it down to B tier, like above Deadeye. But all right, let's go to the next one. The beloved Spearmaster. As you can tell, if you watch any YouTube, everybody's checked it out in Alpha 21. It went from that little shit dick, terrible throwing weapon to one of the best, hands down. And we'll look at it really quick. So up top says, learn to inflict more damage and slow your enemies with power attacks. So slowing your enemies with power attacks, already huge, you know? Now, when you get all the way down here, this is when it becomes kind of crazy. You're now a Spearmaster. If this wasn't the apocalypse, you could be in the Olympics. Spears inflict 50% more damage, and power attacks have a 100% chance to slow enemies. Killing blows grant 30 stamina. Find more spears and parts in loot. This is huge. This pretty much essentially states, this used to be pretty much like a strictly a club only kind of perk, the 30 stamina. Now it's for all of them, you know? And this is what makes spears so useful. You come down here and you can just power attack, you know, the entire time. That makes this so useful. And as you see, this goes straight, which makes this so nice when every other weapon is a right to left swinging motion, you know, to where nowadays you can clear almost any building without even using hatches. If you got a door there and they break a little hole in the door, this is the one weapon you know is going to fit and hit that hole just right. Pause. Hit that hole just right to where you're going to be able to stab any zombie you see. What makes this even more viable and nice is if we look at the books right here. So 10% more damage, so even more damage. The degrade slower doesn't really matter. It's nice. 25% chance to cause bleeding. That's huge. So, especially you find this book kind of early, you have that slowing damage to where they're slow and they're bleeding. If you need to kind of back up and get away, this is the perfect weapon to do that. Power attacks do more damage to down targets. Increased attack speed. Again, nice. Penetrate multiple targets. That's huge, especially when you're using something like this killing corridor to where they're all lined up, and we'll see it in a minute. Hit score in quick succession, do more damage. And then kills with spear, refill your stamina. So even more stamina refill. So that's huge right there. So let's go ahead and do this. Alright, let's jump down here. Hey. Dang it. There we go. So as they're running, we're just boom. Boom. They can't reach us, but we can reach them. And we're reaching multiple, as you see more flying as I get a little too close to show you what I mean. But look, I'm just power attacking the entire time and staying full stamina. Like, this weapon is insane now if you can get the right skills and talents and perks. This, to me, because of what we've kind of mentioned before, makes this an easy S tier. Like, this is a weapon you could use over any of them. Like, I sat there and fought 25 feral zombies and was able to power attack the entire time. And I'm dropping multiple zombies at once. So this went from very underwhelming in, say, Alpha 20 and B4 to extremely overpowered in Alpha 21. All right, let's jump into the next one. All right, quick and perceptive. You are quick and perceptive, improves attack speed with spear. This is very nice, very niche, in the sense that without spears, this is 100% useless, you know? And the only thing it focuses on is the attack speed. So it's very nice. If you're going spears, even if you go spears first, which is almost recommended, you know? So there's not a lot to be said about quick and perceptive. Besides, it's nice, but under the right circumstances. You got to have Spearmaster. You got to have that pretty much maxed out for you to see a giant difference in it. But still, I would rate it anywhere from the B to C tier. If you're going spears, it's very useful, you know, toward the end. So we'll rate it right behind the Deadeye in B tier. But I could also see it C tier, and you could also see it anywhere down in D or F tier. It's just dependent on if you're using spears or not. Well, let's check out the next one. Okay, so we went from our combat perks to our general perception perks. So the first one being Infiltrator. There is not a lot to say about Infiltrator. I will say quite a bit, but skill-wise, it's just like, your heightened senses take less damage from your trap. You're known as an infiltrator and you can safely navigate the most dangerous minefields. Loose board traps and landmines trigger 2 seconds slower. Take 50% less damage from landmines. And can pick up landmines themselves. Now that's about as niche as it gets. Because unless you're in the wasteland or trying to clear, say, some kind of military base, you're never going to see a damn landmine, you know? And I don't think there'd ever be a purpose unless you're playing like in a big server, kind of like a PvP purpose, to where you would be picking up landmines anyway. Because if you use them at your base, you know, it's like, oh, the first zombie wave comes and they're already all gone, you know, to where they're not as useful as some of the other explosives. The taking 50% less damage from landmines is nice, but you have a book that I'll show you real quick that is in Urban Combat. Let's see. Landmines won't detonate when stepped on. That eliminates Infiltrator to a T, to where it's just like, it's not needed. It's not necessary. There's no purpose to it. Like, to pick up landmines, for one, to get there, you have to put 10 points in perception. Well, you have to get to level 10, which is more than 10 points, and then you can put the 3 points to get here. Are you really going to waste that many points just to pick up landmines? I'm going to assume not. So with that being said, this one goes straight into F tier, unfortunately. When you can get a book that cancels out the entire perk, pretty much, besides picking up the landmines themselves, and it's not like you're just running over landmines left and right, you know. It's very useless perk that needs something to kind of energize it in the future. But let's go to the next one. Animal Tracker. Learn to detect and track animals within 100 meters and never go hungry. Become the ultimate tracker. Your senses are unparalleled. You can detect predators like mountain lions and bears. So let me show you how this works. We're just looking up. Well, it's already working. I must be crouched. Yeah. See, there's a deer. So, like, say he was kind of like out of visibility range. You could crouch and he'd pop up on your little mini map above the day 2 time. 1407, 1408, you know. Does this have a point? Like, when you look at food itself, especially like meat, like boiled meat, grilled meat, bacon and eggs, none of it, there's a bunny, see? Like, the bad thing is, like, and why this perk is so kind of useless is I saw the bunny jumping before I looked up at the top of my screen to see that there was actually a bunny there. So I spotted the damn smallest little animal before seeing it on my tracker. And I was kind of mentioning the food that comes from meat is not that great. So it makes his talent not that sustainable, to where it's just like, looking at it, is there really a purpose to putting points in this? If you watched my Perception series, spinning that randomizer wheel, I was unfortunate enough to get all these. This shit was so useless for me and made the challenge that much harder. That being said, are you really going to spend 10 points, or well, 15 or whatever it is, points, to then put 3 into this? No. So this is another F for me. I will say it's probably a tiny bit more useful than Infiltrator, but again, it's just like nothing you're going to use. There should be some adjustment, something that makes it better, you know, to where there's a use for it itself. Okay, next one is the Penetrator. You find weak spots in the target's armor with spears, archery, and other specialized ammo. Use AP rifle bullets to shoot through multiple organic targets. The Penetrator is ignore 20% of the armor with firearms and archery, 50% on anything with target armor reduction. Armor-piercing rounds can penetrate 3 additional targets or block up to 1,000 hit points when using hunter, lever, or sniper rifles. So the hit points itself, like to the blocks, is just not useful whatsoever. There's way better ways to go about that. Now, the 3 additional targets, as we kind of saw earlier, can be helpful. Definitely when you have the killing corridor kind of base. So let's spawn in our old girl Arlene, 25 of them. Let's jump in here and let's show you. But let's see if we can see the, we have the armor penetrating. And you can see the ones behind them dropping, you know. So pretty dang useful. It can be helpful. I could see it in A, but armor piercing rounds until you get to mid to late game, you know, are going to be harder to come by. You're going to have to craft them yourself, so that's about a mid game kind of tier thing, as well as look for them at the trader. So you're having to use a different kind of a round to use that. So I think that one will fall actually probably right behind Deadeye, to where Deadeye is overall more useful in something you're going to obviously want to pump out before you get the Penetrator. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so those were the general perception perks. So now we're going down the scavenger perks. And these ones may shock you kind of where I rank them. Or you may agree 100%, you know. But Lucky Looter. So specialize in tracking down the Motherloader, maybe getting a little extra for your troubles. You find better loot with every perk level. And then the last one is the Lucky Looter. You're on a roll and the dice are loaded. Adds 25% to loot bonus and looting is 80% faster. Big thing here. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail. I'm going to link someone below. Another military guy that you all probably most likely know. Guns, Nerds, and Steel. I'm going to link a video below that he does. And that goes into extreme detail. More detail than what I could do, you know, of how useful this is. Now, what I'll say is, early game, even mid game, you're not really going to see this. If you pump this out right off the bat, due to your loot stage and everything like that, down here, which mine's pumped way up because I've leveled it a shitload. But due to your loot stage, like, the amount or the difference you're going to see in loot is very, very, very minimal, which a lot of people don't understand. Because, like, when I first started playing the game and getting into it, like, this is one of the first things I always leveled was Lucky Looter, because I was like, oh shit, like, I want better guns, I want more ammo, and that's not how it works. Guns, Nerds, and Steel does a great job of kind of explaining when you kind of see the differences in this and where you need to be, loot stage level, and so I suggest kind of watching that if you're more intrigued of that in detail. Now, I will say Alpha 21 added different loot stages based on tier of difficulty of the quest, biome you're in, like Wasteland, Frozen biome, like the desert, all have a better chance and raise your loot bonus themselves. So that's kind of helpful. The one thing I would say right off the bat that could be helpful is the 80% faster looting. Looting faster is always helpful. If you're playing on insane difficulty or doing kind of a niche run to where zombies always sprint or nightmare speed, like something like this could be huge. Then again, like if you're just kind of playing normally, you're most likely going to be clearing the buildings. And if you're clearing the buildings the way you should be, there's really no purpose, no big purpose to looting faster, you know? Save a tiny, tiny bit of time, but as long as you're safe, like, that looting faster is not that helpful. Since this is so niche, like, if you watch the Guns, Nerds, and Steel video, you'll see, like, this could be D tier, even F tier, or C tier, B tier, however you look at it. It can fall in any of these. This is more of a very mid to late game skill that I'm going to place it into C. I could justify D tier as well, but it's just not as useful as what you would think, which is kind of unfortunate. All right, next skill, Treasure Hunter. Become one of the greatest treasure hunters of all time. Learn tricks that would even make Blackbeard envious. And lastly is for every 3 blocks dug up, the treasure search radius is reduced by 1 meter. 30% more items in buried treasure. Now, a lot of people look at this skill and immediately think this is something amazing just because, like, treasure maps. The thing you got to remember about treasure maps is they're such a small percentage of the game, like 2% of the game, you know, is how often you're going to be finding these. Maybe you get lucky and find quite a bit toward the end, you know, and this skill becomes very useful because instead of having to break down 10 damn blocks, you're only having to hit 3 before that circle gets smaller, which is extremely useful. But the only other purpose to the skill itself is now they've kind of added with Alpha 21, I can't remember if they did it before, but you have tier 2 and tier 3 like dig quests, so it makes this way more viable, not just off the treasure maps itself, but you can do quests or whatever and make them a lot faster. If you don't want to go and clear a building or whatever, you can get 3 points into this and be knocking out tier quests left and right, you know. Just noticed I grabbed the wrong one. This is Lucky Looter. So, Lucky Looter C. But for Treasure Hunter itself, I could see this being B, A, or C. And I'm going to put it in C. Unless you are solely like basing your playthrough around this talent, it's not as useful as you think, you know. If you're not doing dig quests left and right, you know, there's not really a purpose. It could drop down to D or F. If you're not getting lucky enough to find treasure maps, there's literally no point to this skill. So it's kind of middle of the road. All right, let's jump into the last one. So salvage operations, waste not, want not. Salvage items for more resources with a wrench, ratchet, or impact driver. You're the king of junk dealers and envy the grease monkeys of the apocalypse. Salvage tools deal 50% more damage, harvest 100% faster, and gain up to 100% more resources with a wrench, ratchet, or impact driver. Find salvage tools and parts and loot. This one, like, surprisingly, is pretty darn good. Now, you think, like, you're breaking down cars and things like that. What's so good about it? You can get a good chunk of money from breaking down vehicles and other equipment and harvesting those things. When you're getting 100% more resources for every vehicle, every workbench, all that, you know, using the salvage tools, it becomes an extremely good moneymaker. Way better than putting points into Lucky Looter or Treasure Hunter right off the bat. If this is something like you plan on playing a long-term game, this isn't a bad one to go into. If you can get you a wrench, like you can get a wrench for sure before day 7, but if you can get a wrench like out of somewhere and you get it pretty soon, like go ahead and throw points into that. This is a great way to make money so you can be able to afford anything you want inside the trader itself. It really kind of will speed up that process. That being said, I would throw it into the B tier. I could see higher if like your main objective is to get money and get it as quick as you can. You run around and just haul ass on everything you see and just stock up that. It could fall lower. To conclude the perception rankings, this is how it looks. So I'll read them kind of ranked 1 through 10. So the top skill, I think, hands down, in the perception tree is going to be your Spearmaster. Second one, I would say probably Demo Expert. It's kind of a long-term skill, but the rewards you can get from it, it can make the game easy as all hell, you know. You can be shooting rockets down a corridor or down stairs, you know, or down an elevator shaft, anything to where the game's not even fun anymore because there's no challenge itself. Number 3 is Salvage Ops, just a great moneymaker in general. Number 4 is Deadeye. It helps. It makes the rifle extremely viable to where without that, the rifle is very slow, can't kill that many guys, and you saw how well it did before. Number 5, the Penetrator. It runs hand in hand with Deadeye. You need Deadeye, but then the Penetrator complements Deadeye and the rifle so much. Number 6 would be Quick and Perceptive. Again, great skill to use to piggyback off of the spears, but by itself there's no purpose whatsoever. Number 7, Treasure Hunter. It can be very useful if that's how you base your game. That's how you play your game, is dig quest and looking for treasure maps all the time. But without it, very useless. Number 8 would be Lucky Looter. It's more of a late game, and like as I said, go check out the video or whatever. It's still useful, but it's just so not necessary at the beginning. Number 9 would be Animal Tracker. Number 9 and then number 10, Infiltrator. Animal Tracker and Infiltrator. There's literally no purpose. Nothing good about them, honestly. Like, if you're going to put points into them, it's just like, it's one of those like random things to it. It's not going to really pay off. Perception tree as a whole, it got a little bit better in a sense, but it got rid of some of the perks that now actually have a purpose, like lockpicking and things like that. But it upgraded the spear so much that it's kind of made the perception tree somewhat viable, because it used to be like, hey, you're going strength and intellect hardcore. These are the ones you're focused on because of trading and the weapons and strength, you know, and everything strength had to offer. Well, now you can at least like entertain the thought of going perception, because spears could be your early, late, and in-game weapon. That being said, that's going to wrap up our tier list of perception. Tomorrow we will see strength. If you got any comments about or questions, put it down below. Let me know what you think. If you want to see me at the very end of this rank all of them, kind of like a top 10 or top 20 tier list, let me know. I can do that. Again, I'm Venom, and just make sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.